So if we go to a customer's record now, so if we wanted to do a quote, and the other thing is this is an early version of what we call kitting. It has the ability for you to use the alternate model number system to group items together so that you can quote them all at once. And that's a system that we're refining, but you can see what it can do now. If I go in and I click this add line item, you used to have to sort of choose, do you want to choose a QuickBooks item? Do you want to choose and actually you couldn't really search for model numbers here, but you could choose a QuickBooks item or a Venture item or a predefined quote, those types of things. And so I can go in and there's a checkbox here that controls the sort. So if I uncheck that, it'll make a sort really quick, and I can go in and I did program in a predefined, and so that I use the predefined code FF12, which is a Fujitsu floor model, 12,000 BTUs in my code, and you guys can use whatever code you guys want. And so I can go in and check these two items and add it to my quote. So you can go now and change quantities, and you can see the literature that we're going to give access to the consumer on the quote. In the prior system, you could only add models after you had created your quote or work order. Now we've already added the models, and the models are integral to this system so that they're included with your quote. If you convert this quote to a job, those model numbers are there, and it won't require a secondary registration process.
Well, what we found was that sometimes Venture users weren't registering enough units, and especially the guys who are using our websites. And if you notice that when you register your units online, it actually builds content for the website. So that we're basically trying to make this more efficient for our users to make the marketing of their websites better is what the idea was, to make all this more efficient so that the tech isn't out there going, why do I have to put this information in? I don't really care about this information. It all kind of puts it all in one place for them.
So again, for Jeff, we have this other thing where it's called a mini split proposal. And this is just predefined content. You can see that we're using a color code here, but I can now add that item, and it creates this sort of a boilerplate of what we might commonly attach to a mini split quote. And I can go in and edit this, and I can change some of this text here, and it will update it here. But I think Jeff had the question of how do you do this with a quote? So now you can see that we've used this predefined or quick quote material now, along with the model numbers that we're proposing, and we have a very complete quote, and it didn't take us very long at all. I showed you before the worksite address is now available here, and you can edit those on the fly and add new ones on the fly. The PO number is much more intuitive. It's right out there in your face, and you can go in and add it. So it's much easier for your guys to learn that aspect of it. Also, the terms are a little clearer, and they're available here. One thing that I wanted to point out, and I think a lot of you guys don't know this, is you can have one set of terms appear with different types of quotes or invoices. So if you look at what we're now going to call quick quote items, one of the things you want to look at is identify what type of terms you want to use with that particular quick quote item. And that is a choice, and it will populate this field based on the quick quote item you're using. So this is a very efficient process then to create this quote. I'm going to just sort of back up and restart this and show you one other feature that I think you'll probably like. So if I go in actions, let's say it's a new invoice. The other thing that this has, and some of you guys won't use this, but some of you will, I can go in and ask for a category. And this is the category of black fittings. So I now can go in and say I want that, and add those items all at once to the invoice. And then I can change my quantities. And it's a much faster way of doing a bill of materials type of job. I know that some of you guys don't do this at all, but I also know that some of you guys do this all day, every day when you're doing gas piping or refrigeration piping. Then you can see that my quantities are all updated. And so again, that's a much, much faster process than what we've been able to provide for you in the past.
Are these items added individually? Can they be uploaded from a spreadsheet?
If the spreadsheet was organized well enough, we could probably do it for you. Chris would have to say if there's a fee or not, but it wouldn't be hard. It wouldn't be hard if that is organized well. It's pretty easy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
The short answer, Phil, if this is Phil, I think it is, is if you've got a longer list, I'm sure that we could update it for you if you've got it reasonably well organized.
When we made this, we made it so that we could build up upon it, so that depending on where the data is coming from, we can utilize it. So whether it's our V price or another flat rate pricing or other types of pricing modules, we'll be able to use it in the future. So we kind of optimized it to handle any type of data.
The other thing I wanted to show you is the other angle of how that search system works. So I'm just going to sort of back up and so let's say that you're out and let's follow this through. You can see with furnace, all the furnaces that came in the search because we're pulling the whole database. And that's only basically items that are identified as a search, but I'm actually looking for something else. So I'm going to change the search. This whole thing where you're searching and show all models versus if you have this checked, it's not showing all models. And that's the furnace replacement proposal. And I actually don't want that. Let's try one with tankless. Okay, that's what I'm after right there. So that's a clean and check. Someone wants us to come out and check out their tankless water heater. And that's a quick quote item. But this is a work order we're creating here, and I'm just going to go ahead and create the work order. So now I can go into our timeline, and I think you've all seen this, and I'm going to drag this onto my day. You can tell we've been screwing with this a fair amount today. And I just assigned it to myself. And so now I'm going to sort of change hats and go out to this job site. And we have this work finished process. And in the past, if you guys that have used this, and I know most of you have, there was a multi-step thing that we pushed you through, and we've condensed this a great deal. So you could say this is a new installation, which wouldn't be appropriate in this case, but that if it were, it would then allow you to very quickly identify from our database again the model and serial number that's there. Or we could say we're going to service existing equipment, which is what I'm going to say here because this guy has a tankless water heater. We showed the list of equipment that's available on site that we know of already, and I can check this and do that, or I could search for a new one if it's an item that we don't currently have in our database.
And that's a similar search to what we saw on the right hand side.
Right. And so I can just update that. And so now the item you can see is attached to the invoice. So you can see how it all sort of pulls everything together to a much greater degree than it has.
I think you got some questions.